Hi, John Woodson here again, and this is video number 3 in our 4-part series describing the parts of a utility or non-provisional patent. So now we're looking at the specification. And in video number 1, we talked a little bit about what the technical field, the background, and the brief description of the drawings are. And I also mentioned that you will typically have a summary as well. In this particular patent, the summary is not broken out separately with a separate heading as you see here. In most patents, it is, however, broken out separately, so you'll see a section that says summary, and then there will be a few paragraphs describing that summary. Basically, the summary is just a restatement of what's in the claims, and you may be picking up a recurring theme here through these videos that I keep referring to the claims. And it's almost backwards for us to end with a video talking about the claims, because when we draft a patent, that's where we actually start. And I'll explain why in a minute. But I mention it here because the claims really do provide an outline for the whole rest of the application. The drawings, as we were speaking about before, dictates how you draw your drawings and what you show in the drawings. And then in the summary, it actually becomes the summary. You take that claim language that we use and basically make it a little more readable, so to speak, in sentence form. Take out some of our favorite patent jargon words and you make it more into regular English form and include it as part of the summary. But don't worry, we've got plenty of jargon and patent buzzwords for you later when we get to the claims video next. Anyway, after you get through the summary, then you get into the meat of the description. And so for that, why don't we zoom right in here and take a look. So generally speaking, you'll dive right in and say turning to figure 1, and then you launch right into what's going on. And this description will again follow the outline of the claims, in that you start by orienting the reader as to what it is you're talking about. Here we say it's a mobile device, and then we explain what that means, that it could be different types of mobile devices such as mobile phones, tablet computers, laptops, those kinds of things. And then we go into the different components of it. In particular, we start out by describing those components which are important for this invention. And here you'll see that it's two things that are important to this particular invention are the global positioning or satellite positioning componentry of the device, as well as the near field communication components. So we explain what those are a little bit, and then we continue to march through the different elements that we have here, and then we start explaining what it does. And we do that in the context of that flow diagram that you saw in figure 3. And once we've introduced what all the components are, I then come down here and I explain what they do in the context of that flow diagram. And then we'll just zoom back out here. We continue on, and let's actually zoom back in for a second and talk specifically about those particular components of the device that are important for the invention we're claiming. And then at the end here, we actually come along and include some more detail about other components you would find in a mobile device to help further complete or fill out the application so that it's clear all of the different elements you could have in the mobile device that go with this invention. And then, as we mentioned before, you ultimately conclude your application with the claims, which we're going to get into in a minute. The last thing I would just mention about the detailed description is it has certain requirements that it has to meet. Actually, there's quite a few. We won't go into all of them, but two of the main ones are that it is to provide the best mode of practicing the invention, and it also has to enable one of ordinary skill in the art how to practice the invention that's recited in the claims. So it's important that the detailed description not only include enough information so that somebody who works in this area, say in this case a mobile device engineer of average skill level, would understand how to make and use this. But it's also important that the applicant describe the best mode they know of to practice the invention at the time they file their application. You can't hide the ball, so to speak, from the patent office. That's one of the requirements of getting this grant of the right to exclude others from making, using, or selling your patented invention. You have to disclose to the public in your application and ultimately the issued patent what you think the best mode of practicing the invention is, because the ultimate reason for patents in the first place is that the government wants to entice you to disclose technological inventions to the public so that they can use them in the future in exchange for you getting a limited right to monopolize and capitalize on that invention in the near term. So some very important considerations you have to take into account when you're drafting an application, and we of course can take care of all of that for you if we draft your application. But nonetheless, things to take consideration of and be mindful of. And with that, we conclude the description or overview of the specification, and next we'll move on to the claims.